All right, so we're at the last step of bread making. We are going to score the bread, which sometimes is one of the more fun parts. Get it in the oven and bake, and then you should have some beautiful loaves to enjoy. So for scoring the bread, well, first, why do we score? We score bread because it tells the gases that are escaping, the steam that's escaping, we let it kind of tell it where to go. We direct it where to go. Otherwise, it's just going to pop open and you can get just kind of a crazy explosion on the top of your loaf. So if you want free form bread, you can do it that way. A lot of times people just make kind of a basic curve. That's a perfectly fine thing to do. There's a lot of fancy scoring out there, and some of it's kind of fun to try. I did like some Christmas trees at Christmas. I just copied what someone else did. I do not have a lot of new ideas on scoring. I think everything has been done. Some people paint on there with like edible paints. There's a whole bunch of fun stuff you can do. So, and part of it is once you flip your loaf, you can dust it with a little bit more of that rice flour that we used to line our bowls, and then you can see that fancy scoring. But for now, just worry about scoring your bread. The fancy stuff can come later. So I used a tool called a lame, I think is how you probably pronounce it. I think it's French, Lame. There's an accent at the end. It's just like a nice holder for a razor blade. I'll tell you what, I was just trying to hold these. They're sharp on both sides. So, and like try to really carefully pull it through there. And then I got one of these and it was a game changer. So I didn't cut myself doing it, but it just, you can't really give it the right pressure and still hold on to a sharp blade. So these are not, like you can get them for like 10 bucks. So not a very expensive tool, definitely worth investing in. So I'm going to adjust my camera and show you how we're going to flip our loaves, actually leave it in the fridge for 24 hours. So let me show you what it's looking like here. So I'm going to show you level. You can see a little bit better. It's risen, just, it's hard to adjust that to the camera. It's not level to me, but it looks level in the camera. It's almost to the top. This one's a little bit smaller. This loaf might have been a little smaller too. I may not have made them evenly, so it's a little bit lower, but it's got some nice bubbles and it's happy. It's doing well. What you take them out right before you bake. They don't have to come to room temperature. In fact, they will be easier to score if you don't let them come to room temperature. There's two ways you can do this. You can just use good old parchment paper. You can also use, if you are baking a lot, these are not very expensive. It's not a Pampered Chef thing. You can get them on Amazon. It's called a like a bread sling. If you just look up a sourdough sling, bread sling, you'll find lots of variation. These straps, sometimes they have like kind of a wide strap. I don't know which one works better. This seemed like it would work well. It's been working pretty well for me. They're you know, silicones, they can get pretty hot. If you're using the silicone, I'm just gonna put that over the top, and I kind of just put my hands, so you can see better, on both sides, just to give a little bit of stability, support to that. So there's my first loaf. Oh, success, yay. And I'm gonna just move that guy over there, get ready to score. And then, yeah, I haven't done this with straight up parchment paper for a while. I use those slings so much. I would say it's just kind of wrap it around it, and then flip it. And you can put it right in the oven. That worked pretty smoothly, actually. Okay, so now we're gonna score. And actually, I'm just gonna, let you see this again. I'm just gonna rub some of that flour that's on there and take advantage of that. And same with this one. There's a little bit of extra flour kind of over there, so I'm just gonna dust that for my, you could put a little bit more if you desire, but you could put none and it would be fine. It's really just to kind of emphasize your scoring. So just a basic score. Let's just do a real basic score. As you can see here, I'm just gonna make a curve, and this is something, the more you do it, the better you will get at it. You'll learn about how much pressure, but this cut is gonna be a fairly deep cut. And my blade is actually, that felt like it was dragging a little. But you can kind of see that opening up a little. That's gonna expand. And I went kind of deeper on that cut. And then, I'm going to just make it a little fancier, and I'm gonna make like a blade of wheat on the other side here. Let's see how I wanna do it. Just kind of make a straight line. And I'm making that one just a little bit deeper, and then I'm gonna make some lighter cuts. Again, this is not like, you could have just stopped with that curve. That'd be totally fine. I just want to add oven at the same time. So I'm just going to move that over my counter. I'm going to move the other one over. And this one we'll do like we'll just crisscross it here. Just going to score and make these quarter, like where I'm dividing it into quarters a little bit deeper. I'm just gonna put like a little star. And again, I'm not going as deep with these. These are more decorative. It's not necessarily where I want all the gas to escape. That's gonna be in those major cuts that I did. So these I'm just doing lightly, and you'll see later that they'll open up slightly, but that they're not, there's a little bit of expansion. Whoops, I should perhaps spun this around. You still see, yep. And, all right, and so these are ready for the oven. So when I prepare to bake, let's talk about what to bake in. I bake my bread in these two cast iron Dutch ovens that I have, and I would say this is a time when even if you get cheap cast iron, it'll still do the trick. It's not so great if you're actually wanting to use your cast iron to like cook and fry in, because they're rough and they don't get non-stick very quickly. But for bread making, you don't really need it to be non-stick. I put my two Dutch ovens in my oven and I heat them up. One recipe I said to do it for like an hour. That is a long time to have your oven on, especially in the summer. And cast iron picks up the heat pretty quickly, so mine have probably been in there about 30-40 minutes. I think that's plenty of time. They're hot. The oven's hot. I started at 475 and they're gonna bake for 20 minutes. And then after that 20 minutes, I turn the temperature down. The lids are on. I turn the temperature down about 50 degrees, so it's at 425. And then I bake it for about another 10 minutes. Then I take the lids off and I bake it for usually about 20 minutes, just depending on how brown they are or aren't and how brown I want them. Some people like their breads really, really dark, and other people would prefer them not as dark. I mean, your crust is gonna be a little tougher, and some people would just really like that. There's a lot of preference that comes into the actual baking, and there's a lot of different ways to bake. That's just the system I've used because it's the first one I've learned and it works. So I just keep doing it that way. So, okay, I'm trying to think if I can show you this. I'm gonna pause the camera and pick back up. All right, here we go. I'm gonna get my pots out here to show you what it looks like when they go in. Obviously, work very carefully. There's a lot of heat going on here. Set that up there. Just gonna drop it in there. Your scores are gonna like pinch together. That's okay, they'll pop right back open. Lid back on. I can only do about 2 at a time in my oven, that's it. And the sling, I can just grab by the sides. The only thing I don't like about this sling, sometimes it makes like indentations on the side, but really that's minor. It's not that big of a deal. All right, they're in. Set my timer for 20 minutes. And that's it. So we're gonna wait for the bread to bake. I'll show you the final outcome once those loaves are done. Tune in. Okay, this is gonna be a little bit wobbly because I'm holding my phone, but I wanna just show you. So I didn't say that very well in the last video, the cooking parameters, but I'll have it written down so you don't have to worry about it. But I put it in at 475, or I don't think I said it clearly, 475 for 20 minutes. Then I turn it down to 425 and I put it for 10 minutes. And now that's all done. And I'm gonna open, let me flip my camera around here. Oh. Okay, so we're going to take the covers off here and get our first peek. Try to do this quickly so that I don't let out a lot of hot air. Normally I put oven. Okay, so there's, oh, it's so pretty. Doesn't that look great? Amazing. Okay, sometimes I do just take a minute to say, they just came out so nice. Make sure you leave yourself some space on the stove to put those hot lids. And there's the other one. Really beautiful scores that let all the stuff out right where it was supposed to. All right, I just took a peek. These loaves are ready. They're, to me, a perfect color. Some might like them darker. They're how I like them. So let's take a look. Pretty great. I wish you could smell it, and actually you can usually hear the crust crackling too as it cools. And here's our other one. Take that paper out. Very nice. And you can see that score told that escaping gas, exactly where to go, so I didn't get like a crazy crust. And then you can see how just those smaller, I guess it's, anyway, you get those little shallow cuts, and that gives you just those little decorative, my other ones didn't open on the other side. Doesn't matter, right? And that's it. Like, end of bread making. Start over in a day. No, this bread will probably last. My house, it goes much faster. 2 loaves in most regular households will last a little while, but in this household, it'll be gone in like 2 days probably. So, but I'm glad to see it get eaten. Is rewarding. So hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully this has been helpful. Post all your questions and I will answer those the best that I can. Thanks for hanging out and making sourdough bread with me this weekend.